Okay guys, today I'm going to be completely honest, say everything, and hide nothing about a game that I've spent quite a lot of time experiencing over the past few weeks. That is Pokémon Hurricane Squadron, played through the X7game platform. I know just hearing the name already makes many of you feel familiar because Pokémon is something everyone knows, right? But Hurricane Squadron is different. It's not an official Pokémon game from Nintendo or Game Freak. This is an independently developed project, and I will analyze it very carefully so you can clearly understand before deciding whether you want to try it or not. First, you need to understand the context of why games like this exist. The Asian mobile game market, especially the Chinese game sector, has long had a tradition of developing projects inspired by major global franchises. Pokémon Hurricane Squadron is one of those products. It's not simply a cheap copy, but actually a serious effort to combine modern hero collector RPG mechanics with the core elements of the Pokémon universe that we've loved since childhood. And the reason why I play it through X7game instead of Google Play or the App Store I will explain later. There is a proper reason. I'm not just playing recklessly. So what does Hurricane in this name mean? If you are a veteran trainer, you will know immediately. Hurricane is a flying type move with base power up to 110, extremely strong. But its weakness is that the accuracy is only 70%, meaning out of 10 uses, you miss about 3 times. However, and this is a very interesting point in competitive Pokemon, when it rains, Hurricane has 100% accuracy. This is exactly the core philosophy of the gameplay in Hurricane Squadron. The game encourages you to build a rain team, meaning a team focused on rainy weather to maximize combat efficiency. I tried building a team and it works quite well. Specifically, I use Pelipper as a support Pokemon because Pelipper has an ability called Drizzle. As soon as it enters the field, it automatically sets rain without needing a setup turn. From there, Salamence or Dragonite in the main DPS position can fire Hurricane with 100% accuracy and receive stab bonus from the flying type, pushing damage very high. Then there is Tornadus, playing a hybrid role, dealing damage while also using Tailwind to boost the whole team's speed. And one more slot I usually give to Iron Hands to diversify type coverage and avoid being completely countered. Overall, the Rain Team meta in this game has more depth than I expected. It's not just about throwing in strong units, you actually have to think about synergy. As for the overall structure of the game, this is a hero collector RPG combined with turn-based combat, quite similar to the card-based games many of you are familiar with. You will collect Pokemon through a gacha system with hundreds of species from multiple generations, and I'm quite impressed because they are recreated quite faithfully to the original. Progression in the game is not just simple leveling. You need to clear story stages to recreate classic journeys, then farm rare materials to upgrade something called Martial Souls and Soul Rings for Pokemon. Sounds a bit strange, right? Because this system is inspired by Doluo Dalu, a very famous fantasy novel in China. Integrating this mechanic into the Pokemon universe is quite a bold creative decision, and I think it works, creating a layer of depth that typical Pokemon copies don't have. In addition, there is also a PvP system to climb server rankings, which I will talk more about in the disadvantages section because it has 2 sides. Now let's talk about graphics, because this is something that surprised me. The game uses 3D anime-style graphics, and it is quite seriously invested. The Pokemon models have good detail, smooth animations, and my favorite part is the skill effects. Explosions, storms, lighting, they look very epic in each battle. The colors are vibrant in true anime style, so you can immediately feel the Pokemon atmosphere. However, in return, the game is quite heavy. The lightest version is already 1.4 GB, and the full version goes up to 2.7 GB. Your device needs around 2 to 3 GB of free storage to install comfortably. In terms of performance, based on my testing, high-end chips like Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 or Dimensity 8400 can run max settings at 60 FPS without issues. Mid-range chips like Snapdragon 778G or Helio G99 get around 30 to 45 FPS on medium and are still playable. Weaker chips like Snapdragon 6N80 or Helio G85 require low settings and you have to accept occasional stutters. It's not an extremely heavy game, but it's not light either, so you need to evaluate your device before installing. Now let's talk about X7game, why I chose this platform instead of installing the game through standard channels. The short answer is, the financial benefits are very clear. X7game has been operating for more than 9 years. This is not a platform that just appeared overnight. The biggest attraction is the top-up voucher system. They give out no-threshold vouchers daily with values up to 10,000 NDT. Some games on this platform have top-up discounts up to 99% or buy one, get one packages. If you are the type of player who occasionally spends a little to improve your experience but doesn't want to spend too much, then this is a very notable number. However, at the moment in this game, there are no coupons or vouchers yet. Maybe in the future there will be. But I know many of you will ask, is it safe to install from an external source? I also had this concern. The point I appreciate about X7game is that they implement a fairly strict file verification process. Every APK or XZAPay file is scanned for malware and verified using SHA-256 hashing before being allowed for download. That means the file you download has been checked to ensure it hasn't been tampered with by a third party. I'm not saying there is 100% no risk in the world, but compared to randomly downloading APKs from some unknown website, X7game clearly has a more structured security process. Another feature I find extremely useful for Vietnamese players is the built-in translation widget on the platform. The original game is in Chinese, and although there is an English version, not all content is fully translated. This widget allows you to translate dialogues, quest instructions, and skill stats directly on the screen without exiting the app or using a second device. For a game with strategic depth like Hurricane Squadron, understanding stats and skills correctly is extremely important, so this feature has real practical value, not just for show. Now let's move to what I think is the most important part, the downsides. I will not speak only positively because that would not be honest with you. The first and biggest issue is pay to win. Even though the gift code and voucher system is quite generous and helps F2P players survive in the early stages, the further you go, especially in PvP and time-limited events, the gap between paying and non-paying players becomes very large. S+ tier Pokemon or high-end gear require a massive amount of resources that, if you don't spend real money, will take a very long time to grind. This is the nature of gacha mobile games, not just Hurricane Squadron, but you need to know it beforehand so you are not surprised. The second issue is repetition in the late game. Daily missions are heavily routine-based. You need to log in every day, complete all quests, and farm enough materials to avoid falling behind. If you are the type of player who plays based on mood, playing a lot today and then skipping the next day, this type of game will create a certain level of pressure. And if the developers do not update new content fast enough, the game can easily lose momentum and the community gradually fades. This is a common phenomenon with this type of mobile game. The last point I want to say directly, and this is the most important thing you need to remember. Pokémon Hurricane Squadron is not officially licensed by the Pokémon Company. That means legally, it operates in a gray area. The real risk is that the game could be shut down at any time if there are copyright issues. And if you have spent a large amount of money on your account, that is money you completely lose. I'm not saying this to scare you, but to help you make an informed decision. If you want to try it, control your spending at a level you are willing to lose without regret. And with the voucher system of X7game, you can experience quite a lot with much lower cost than usual. In summary, overall, Pokémon Hurricane Squadron is a noteworthy product in its segment. The 3D anime graphics are high quality, the rain team mechanics and weather interactions create real strategic depth. The Martial Soul and Soul Ring system is an interesting creative twist, and the gift code system is quite generous for new players. As for X7game as a platform to access this game, more than 9 years of operation, deep discount vouchers, a convenient translation widget, and a secure file verification process are the specific reasons why I chose it over other methods. If you are a Pokemon fan and curious to experience something different from official games, Hurricane Squadron is a worthwhile option to try, as long as you clearly understand what I just said about its legal limitations and P2W model. Play smart, control your spending, and take full advantage of available benefits. That is the best way to have a good experience with this type of game. All right, that's everything I wanted to share today. If you find this video helpful, please leave a like to support me to continue making content. If you have any questions about the game or about X7game, feel free to comment below. I will try to answer all of them. See you in the next video.